The new discoveries here at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre happened during a recent restoration around the tomb of Jesus.
What scientists just found beneath Jesus' tomb. In Jerusalem will leave you speechless beneath the oldest stones of Jerusalem, in a place millions have walked, yet few have truly understood. Scientists recently uncovered something no one expected to see. Inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the site long believed to contain the tomb of Jesus, restoration workers lifted a marble slab that had not been moved in centuries. What they found beneath it wasn't dust, or rubble, or the decay of time, but a sealed layer of ancient stone that should not have existed. And when researchers began to examine it, they realized this hidden layer wasn't just old. It was untouched, preserved, waiting. What they discovered next would challenge long-held assumptions about the final hours of Jesus' life, and reveal a forgotten world buried beneath the church, a world that had been silent for nearly 2,000 years. But here's the part no one was ready for. The stone wasn't the only thing hiding a secret. When the team entered the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in 2022, their mission was simple: stabilize the aging structure before more cracks spread through the stone. Nothing about the project suggested anything unusual. The church had been repaired, rebuilt, and renovated countless times across the centuries. This was supposed to be just another careful restoration. But as workers began removing the outer layers surrounding the tomb chamber, something strange caught their attention. A section of stone near the burial bench felt different, denser, colder, almost as if it had been sealed with a purpose. Most layers inside the church are easy to date because each era left its own style, its own signature. But this layer didn't match any known period. Not Roman, not Byzantine, not Crusader. Scientists brought in ground-penetrating scanners, expecting to find structural voids or old supports. Instead, the scans revealed shapes beneath the floor, shapes too clean, too intentional to be random rock. Lines, edges, boundaries, almost as if an entire space had been buried and forgotten. And when archaeologists removed another layer of stone, they found the first unmistakable clue that something extraordinary was hiding below, something that did not belong to any recorded renovation, because beneath the floor was soil, ancient soil. So why was there garden soil buried under the holiest site in Christianity? When the team realized they were looking at soil, real, untouched soil just inches below the structure, they knew they had stumbled onto something that had no logical reason to be there. Churches are built on stone foundations. Cathedrals rest on bedrock. Soil simply doesn't survive under centuries of construction, unless something had once existed there long before the church itself. Samples were taken carefully, grain by grain, using tools normally reserved for fragile artifacts. And then the first shock arrived. Inside the soil were traces of pollen, olive pollen, grape pollen, plant life that had no business being sealed beneath layers of marble and limestone. To confirm the findings, the team analyzed deeper layers and uncovered seeds, roots, even small fragments of vine. This wasn't just dirt. It was the floor of an ancient garden. And suddenly, a detail from the Gospel of John gained new weight. In the place where Jesus was crucified, there was a garden. Most historians treated it as symbolic or poetic. Few believed a real garden could have survived under centuries of rebuilding. Yet, here it was, silent, preserved, and older than the church above it. But this was only the beginning, because the soil revealed something else, something far more unsettling than plants. As scientists dug carefully through the preserved garden soil, they uncovered another startling surprise: carved stone edges, too precise to be natural. At first glance, they looked like ordinary fissures in the limestone bedrock, but closer inspection revealed something extraordinary: rock-cut tombs, hand-carved directly into the stone beneath the church. These were not simple graves. They were meticulously shaped, lined with benches, and positioned with purpose, clear signs of elite burial practices common in first-century Jerusalem. Archaeologists realized the tombs matched descriptions in the Gospels: tombs of wealthy individuals, carved into rock, where bodies could be laid to rest in haste yet with care. What made the discovery even more remarkable was the layout. The tombs sat directly beneath what had been the garden soil, suggesting that the garden and the tombs were part of the same sacred space, a living burial ground. The question now confronting researchers was unnerving. Could this be the exact location where Jesus was buried? The alignment with gospel descriptions was uncanny, and every detail, from the hand-carved benches to the position outside the ancient city walls, fit like pieces of a puzzle left for centuries to be rediscovered. And then, beneath the deepest tomb, they found something that no one had expected, something that would send shockwaves through both science and faith. The moment the archaeologists examined the tombs beneath the garden, the connection to the gospel accounts became impossible to ignore. John 19:41 mentions a garden where Jesus was buried. For centuries, scholars debated whether this was symbolic, a literary flourish, or a real, historical location. Now, physical evidence told a different story. The tombs were hand-carved from solid limestone, exactly as described in Mark 15:46. They were designed for someone of wealth, matching Matthew 27:60's description of Joseph of Arimathea offering his own tomb. Even the placement outside the ancient city walls aligned perfectly with Jewish burial practices. Executions and burials were conducted outside Jerusalem to avoid defiling the sacred city. But there was more. The flora preserved in the soil, olive trees, grapevines, and other Mediterranean plants, corresponded to the kind of vegetation that would have existed in a first-century garden. This wasn't coincidence. The garden, the tombs, and the plants created a physical tableau that echoed the gospel narrative, almost as if time itself had conspired to preserve the story. And yet, even as the evidence seemed irrefutable, the team made an even more astonishing discovery. The tombs and garden had been deliberately sealed centuries ago. The layer of earth and stone above them was untouched, suggesting that someone, long before modern archaeology, had sought to hide or protect this sacred place. What they uncovered next would challenge everything even further. As the team delved deeper into the tombs and garden, they discovered evidence of an unexpected protector: Emperor Hadrian. In 135 AD, Hadrian attempted to erase all traces of early Christianity in Jerusalem by building a Roman temple over the site of Jesus' crucifixion and burial. Historians believed his construction had destroyed any remnants of the original tomb. Yet ironically, the very act meant to obliterate Christianity had preserved it. Layers of rubble and stone, laid down to construct the temple, sealed the garden and tombs beneath the earth. For nearly 2 millennia, they remained untouched, shielded from natural decay and human interference. Archaeologists realized that what Hadrian thought would erase history had instead created a time capsule. Inside this hidden chamber, the garden soil, pollen, seeds, and hand-carved tombs had been frozen in place. Every layer, every fragment of plant matter, every rock-cut tomb now served as a direct link to the first century, a physical confirmation of details once thought purely symbolic. And yet, Even with centuries of preservation, questions remained. Who exactly tended this garden? Was it merely a burial site? Or Did it hold deeper spiritual significance for those who first laid Jesus to rest? The answer was hidden in the very earth beneath the tomb, and it was about to reveal something that could astonish the world. The discoveries beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre were not just remarkable, they were profoundly confirming. Every detail seemed to echo the Gospel accounts. Archaeologists identified 6 key confirmations that tied the site directly to biblical descriptions, each one adding a layer of historical weight. First, the garden itself lies just outside the city walls, exactly as John 19:41 describes. This was not a symbolic flourish. It was a real location, aligned with Jewish burial law and historical maps of Jerusalem. Second, the tombs are hand-carved from solid limestone, built for someone wealthy, matching Matthew 27:60 and Mark 15:46. The craftsmanship reflects care, status, and deliberate preparation. Third, the tombs were part of a garden, creating a burial space that was both accessible and sacred. The proximity to the city made hurried burials possible, just as the Gospels recount before the Sabbath. Fourth, the flora discovered, olive trees, grapevines, and other period plants, matches the environment of first-century Jerusalem and the imagery used in Scripture. Fifth, the tombs were deliberately sealed for centuries, likely during Hadrian's Roman suppression, inadvertently preserving the site for modern discovery. Sixth, the layering of ancient construction, from Roman to Byzantine to Crusader periods, shows continuous recognition of the site's significance, validating early Christian reverence. Yet even with 6 confirmations in place, one final discovery remained buried deeper, something that could challenge not just history, but the very way we understand the gospel narrative itself. Beneath the deepest layer of soil, below the garden and the tombs, the archaeologists found traces of something extraordinary. Carefully arranged remnants of pathways and planting beds. Evidence that the space had been intentionally cultivated and maintained. This wasn't random. It was a sacred landscape, designed and preserved with purpose. Every detail now pointed to one undeniable truth. The garden, the tombs, and the very earth beneath the church corresponded precisely to the Gospel accounts. John's description of a garden, the hurried burial before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea's wealthy tomb, and the placement outside the city walls, all these ancient texts suddenly gained tangible, physical reality. The evidence was no longer abstract or symbolic. It was under their hands, under their eyes, and sealed in history itself. And yet, the deeper they studied, the more mysteries emerged. Who tended this garden? How much of its design was meant to convey spiritual meaning? Why had it been deliberately buried and hidden, preserved by the very empire that sought to erase it? For centuries, historians, skeptics, and believers had argued over the literal truth of the Gospels. Now, buried beneath the stones of Jerusalem, the earth itself seemed to whisper answers, waiting for the world to finally listen. But what they would find next, hidden, silent, and untouched for nearly 2,000 years, was something even more astonishing, a secret that could redefine the story of one of history's most pivotal moments. And that discovery? It remains buried, waiting to be uncovered.